Hi, welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Tamara Carroll. I'm your host tonight for Life with Lipedema, Loved, Valued, and Treasured. I was just saying to my team, they're in the back there, and my guest that's coming on tonight. I went to the doctor's yesterday and I went to a lipedema specialist. I live here in North Carolina, so I saw Dr. Pennings and he spent 2 hours with me. It was really amazing. And I learned so much. I got some new modalities that I'm going to be trying out. But he also felt all over my body and confirmed, the lipedema in places that I would have never imagined that I had it on my body. So, but I'm a little achy. And so I know all of you can relate to that. I'm just feeling a little sore. We went grocery shopping today and just kind of slow moving today. So I just wanted to throw that out there. We all have our vulnerable days when we're just feeling a little setback or a little sore, but I'm sure tomorrow will be a better day. So let me go ahead and get started. I would love it if you could pop in the chat and tell me where you're from, and if you're watching the live or if you're watching the replay. And one of the things that I love to do is share an inspiration. And this one actually came from Julie Stewart, who is a tribe member with Lipedema Simplified. And she posted this one this week. And I've noticed hi, Monica, welcome. I've noticed that since I've moved to North Carolina, we have like cardinals. And when I lived on the West Coast, we never had cardinals at all. And so the birds that we have here, we live kind of in the coastal area, and there's just so many beautiful birds. We saw a American red robin today. Hey, Jenny, welcome. So I'm going to read this. It's called Bird Song. Bird song is a joy first thing in the morning, a gentle chorus that welcomes the arrival of a brand new day. As the soft melodies fill the air, they awaken not only the world around me, but also the quiet corners of my own heart. The daily ritual reminds me to rise with intention, to greet each moment with openness and gratitude, and to embrace the unfolding possibilities with some lightness and hope as the birds. Their songs carry a message of renewal and resilience, encouraging me to let go of yesterday's worries and to step forward with joy and a peaceful spirit. The morning birds are gentle teachers of life, showing me how to welcome each day as a fresh beginning and to find happiness in the simple act of being present. And it's signed by a spirit of a hippie. I asked Julie if she wrote it, and she said no, that wasn't her writing, but I just love that. I just think it's very precious. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest tonight. We're going to be talking about creating a life that you want for yourself. And my very good friend, Kate Desmond, is going to be joining us in just a few minutes. And she was on the show, I believe, in November of last year. And everybody was saying, oh, have her back. We want her to come back as a guest. So I'm happy to have her with me. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Kate is a certified life coach who loves coming alongside her clients and helping them to explore their inner world and alchemize areas of their lives where they are still responding to trauma, lies, and misconceptions of who they are into a sovereign, powerful human. She believes every person has the answers within, and if they don't go within, they go without the deep connection to self and God. She assists her clients by traveling along with them to discover their God-given wisdom and constant connection to the divine. She has found that art can help her to connect to our unconscious mind and help us to identify and express things that words cannot. So please welcome Kate Desmond.
Hi,
Hey,
great
Kate.
to see you.
You look beautiful today as usual. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
joining. Hi, Carol. Gosh, we have a nice group already. We have Monica from Maryland and Jenny from the UK and Carol from West Australia. Thank you for joining us. Kate, we were talking a little bit last week about sharing with our community, and you had told me a little bit about how you were healing your own nervous system. Can you share just a little bit about that?
Yeah, I before I do that, I think I have to share a little bit about um, why my nervous system was kind of off.
Okay.
And I've been doing a lot of deep inner work. And, as you kind of peel the layers off, you expose um, things that are, it's not always pleasant to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had been doing a lot of that work, and um, and just some other things that had happened. But my nervous system just got totally overwhelmed, and and I released by I had like a big long cry. So it was very interesting for me because I'm usually like I'm a very chill person. Things don't bother me. But I opened the door to explore that other part of my being that I don't always show to everyone because it's not always like bright and beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
And so, what did you do as you were moving through that? That I don't know if you want to. It wasn't really a crisis, but you were identifying things, and how was it affecting your body? Let's start there.
Well, I could sense that I sensed things were off like before it even happened. And this is why it's so great to be able to process with people. But there was just a lot going on in my life, and I didn't have a moment, and not even to process with my husband. And so I could feel it building.
Mm-hmm.
And then because I had been doing the inner work, what happens when you start dealing with the traumas and past lies and just those things that, those little gnawing things, and that you don't really want to show anyone, and you don't even really want to see.
Mm-hmm.
But, when you start dealing with those things and bring them forth, hidden in them are beautiful gifts. I believe your giftings are hidden behind those things. So I was, my intuition and my ability to sense what other people are feeling, it was amplified. And
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of is what set my nervous system off. It was like just too much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Are you? There we go. You were twirling there for a minute.
Oh no! Oh no!
Um, so, yeah. So, I'm sorry. Can you ask that question
Yeah.
again?
So we kind of touched on the traumas and the things that our gifts are behind us, behind the traumas and
Oh,
the
right,
sadness, and we're
right,
talking about doing a deeper work. And you were talking about identifying, what those things are and how they're kind of holding space, I guess, in your psyche,
right.
in your body.
Right. So, I mean, to me, that's the more important thing. It's to be able to go within and do that inner work.
Hmm.
And like you said, like my favorite expression is, if you don't go within, you'll go without.
Mhm.
But there's an ancient book. It's called the Book of Thomas, and he says it a little bit differently. And if you don't mind, I'd like to share that.
Mhm.
And this is from the Gospel of Thomas, verse 70. If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. And, you know, I like that. I like the way that he puts that, because it's, if you bring forth what's inside of you, even if it's unpleasant, you know, it can't do harm.
Mhm.
The only time it can do harm is when you're unconscious of it. And so it's kind of like, you know, the unconscious traumas, the unconscious lies are generally dictating to us, you know, what to do and what to say. But if you go within, then you uncover them, and now they've lost that, the ability to
The
destroy.
power kind of feels
Yeah.
like it lost its power over you.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Because once you bring it into the light, then you can alchemize it. And when I say alchemize it, I mean, like, you can get to know those parts of you, you know, the parts that are saying that they're broken, or the parts that are scared, or the parts that are condemning. You know, we're our own worst critic. But when you explore, you know, what is that? You know, even like fear. So, you know, we've kind of been trained and taught to chase things away. Like, that's bad. Fear's bad. Get it out. You know, chase it away. Deny it. And the truth is that there's something there. You know, if there's fear there, there's usually something behind it, an unresolved issue. So instead of running away or denying it, or, you know, putting scripture over it, if you explore it, like, why are you here? You know, what's behind this fear? Then
I know I've had some personal experience with that myself. Even recently, I was involved in a healing school, and I went through some, I mean, it was like a whole day thing for me. I was able to meet with someone. It wasn't a whole day of sessions, but I went through a couple hours with this person, and then the afternoon, another couple of hours. And I was able to release so much stuff, traumas. And, you know, as he explained it, that my nervous system was bound up. And, you know, it was really amazing to me when I was able to bring it to light, as you say. And I've done all the work. You know, I specialize in inner healing myself. And so I've done so much work. And we talk about I always like to say the artichoke, right? We peel the layers away from it, and then you get to the choke. And those are those prickly kind of things that are sticking up. And if you don't get that out when you're trying to eat the heart of the artichoke, you will literally choke on it. I mean, it gets in your throat, and it's like spikes, and you will literally choke on it. And you got to get that last layer out so you can have that glorious artichoke heart. And that's just the way I felt. Was like, I have been through so much therapy and counseling, and felt like I had dealt with all this stuff, right? And then being able to work with this gentleman that was helping me to really release, and he could see where it was affecting my health and my physical being as well. And I was so bound up. So when I was able to release all of that, I released fear. I had always been told that I come from a family of worrywarts. And, for me, that was just like a word curse, right? Like a generational curse. And I didn't want to be in fear anymore. And so I remember the next day, there was a lot of thunder and lightning. And I've always been afraid of thunder and lightning, even as a little girl, who knows why. But I would hide under the table. And even living here in Eastern North Carolina, we have a lot of thunder and lightning, and it would shake this house. I mean, when that lightning hits, it was so like echoing. And I remember crying and feeling like, why did I move here? And, but then that morning after I had this session, I was laying in bed and I was listening to the thunder and the lightning. And I was like, this is what it feels like to enjoy this. It was like, and my husband came in because he knew my history with it. And he came in and he was like, are you okay? I'm just checking on you. And I said, no, I'm really good. I'm just sitting here relaxing and enjoying it. And I knew that that spirit of fear was gone from my being. It was, one thing to be cautious, but I'm not fearful. And it's just such a release. I'm just so grateful that I just have that release of fear. So it's a real thing. I mean, people can say, well, don't fear. And it's like, well, if you're living with the spirit of fear because of traumas in your life or lies or whatever it is, it's real, and it does affect you physically, mentally, and spiritually. So I totally
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the thing is that, our little inner child is the one who's carrying all this stuff, and it doesn't go away. It doesn't just disappear, you can, like you said, you did a lot of counseling and a lot of things that, you worked on yourself, but yet, this was still there. And I think part of the reason is there's so much shame and guilt, and especially if you're involved in healing or, you're a person who spends their life working on themselves.
Right.
There's a lot of, like, why is this still happening? Why? And it's still happening because I feel that part of yourself gets fractured. And until it has the attention that it needs, and then we push it aside because, we don't want to be fearful. We know we're not supposed to be fearful and all those rules. And, but we are. And when we turn our attention to that part of ourselves, then we give the ability for that part of ourselves to inform us of what's going on. And I mean, sometimes it doesn't happen that way. Sometimes it happens that you get triggered and it jumps out and it's overwhelming. But
and especially, I think people in our community, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
no, right.
Sometimes ladies in our community, we already deal with the shame and the, condemnation. And then, just being able to move forward, it's so important. I wanted to touch on something when we were talking earlier last week. I wrote down some notes. So it says, you said, we are not even aware of it. I heard you say that the body holds score. So relating to our women here in our community, or anybody really who has any kind of physical challenges, where the trauma can have your body hold score. What does that mean? Can you share a little bit on that?
Sure. Well, I'll just go back to what just recently happened to me. One of the things that I experienced before it happened was I was feeling my body tense, and so just that in itself. Just, when you're feeling, when you're feeling emotions, your body responds to it, and you hold, you hold the trauma in your body. And if you're a person who is very sensitive and picks up other people's feelings and emotions, you can even hold their stuff in your body. We're just not aware that we even do that. So the doing inner work, it's so you begin to discover, the different things that the lies. I feel that most of us have been operating under so many lies that we were told about ourselves. We're not smart enough. We're not pretty enough. Or maybe we told ourselves those lies, and so that part of you is, dictating to your body, to respond to you. You're not listening. And so your body starts responding.
Okay, good. I'd like to kind of jump over. We also talked about co-creating a life for yourself. Can you talk a little bit in detail about that? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Well, because I know many of us, we have these desires, in our hearts. And then when we have something that's affecting us physically, I know even for myself, my mobility right now is not good. And, but yet that's my heart's desire, because I have a lot to do still. I'm 65, but I have a lot to do. I plan on being here for another 20 years at least. So, how can I co-create a life for myself? And maybe the ladies in our group that feel held back, and how can they bring their dreams and their desires forth? Can you share a little bit on that?
Yeah. Well, again, it's, if you don't go within, you'll go without. So the blueprint for who you are is on the inside of you. And I believe if you can, let me back up a second, because I think that we've been kind of trained to go outside of ourselves for answers. And we go outside of ourselves to find our creator. We go outside of ourselves to be educated. We go outside of ourselves, well, basically for almost everything. But if you go within and you go within and you first of all recognize who you are. You are a divine being. You were created in the image of God. You were the very spark of the creator lives on the inside of you. I believe that we are part and particle of God, and God is part and particle of us and is in us. And so for me, that tells me the answer is not outside of myself, but the answer is on the inside of myself. And if I can push away the all the stories I've told myself, I can begin to unpack, who I really am, what the blueprint is on the inside of me. And for me, that's just through meditation and contemplation, being quiet before, just being quiet. Sometimes just going out in nature and just sitting and just listening. I love what you shared this morning about the birds and, listening to their songs. And it reminds you that everything is in this moment, and it seems like our searching has been either the future or the past. We spend very little time in the moment, and in the moment is where you can hear those messages that are not only coming from your creator, but coming from yourself. I think we have become very codependent people. We're dependent on everyone else for our for our awakening, kind of. And so what I found is that we're sovereign human beings, and that if we start taking responsibility for ourselves, that life becomes a lot more pleasant. And so for me, it's the going within, it's the taking responsibility, and knowing that whatever happens to me, it doesn't matter what happens to me or what's said to me. It matters how I respond to it. And so if my response is not how maybe I want it to be, then I know that that's an area that, I'm believing something not too good about myself.
Okay, good.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and then we talked a little bit about not having a victim mentality. And I know that I could get in my own pity pot. I'm just being real. I'm a very positive person, and I always try to see the bright side of everything. But sometimes we can get too much in our heads, right?
Yeah.
And we can. I mean, I don't know about you, but every once in a while I get in a little pity party, and I have to be like, okay, stop, just stop. Think about all the things you're grateful for. Think about all the things that you have that's a blessing. And so, how can you relate to that, or maybe share an action step to not have that kind of? It's hard. I mean, when you're losing your mobility, or you're in pain all the time, or you can't lose weight, and there's different things in our community that really plays on somebody's emotions and mentality. So what could maybe the victim mentality isn't the right word, but how can, if somebody's feeling overwhelmed with it all, how can they come out of that?
Yeah. Well, again, I think it's when you realize what a powerful being you are. That's the whole thing with going within, because when you go within and you discover what's on the inside of you, what you're made of and who you are, then you also discover that you have the abilities, you can overcome things. But the whole thing with a victim mentality is that you're giving your power away. It's the opposite of sovereignty. And to me, sovereignty is when you are personally responsible for everything, whether and we've all been given like some really, bum deals. And I know for myself, like, I grew up being victimized. I've been in many situations with physical abuse, spiritual abuse, sexual abuse, and I was a victim. I was really a victim. I was a victim of all those things. And so it took me
out of your control, for sure.
It took me a long time. And I just got really tired of being a victim. And the thing that happens is when you have this mentality, you draw it to you, unfortunately, then it's like people smell it or something. I don't know. It's just that you can sense it, you can feel it. And so, then it just kind of perpetrates it. So I think the so how do you not become a victim is you realize that's not your nature. And, you see it and you don't judge yourself for it. Like, I have compassion for myself. Yeah, right. I went through a lot of stuff and I understand why, I was that way. But I also realized that there was something within me that was so much stronger than that. And that's that divine spark. Like, there is a spark of life in us that can overcome everything. But it's that co-airing with that spark. And most of the time, we're actually looking for a solution outside of ourselves. And I mean, I've done a lot of that too, and sometimes, you will find some stuff that helps, but until you really deal with the core woundings on the inside of you, they're going to dictate to you how to live your life and how you should feel. And so I think, first of all, just becoming aware of it, that's a good place to start. And then I do practice something that, some people call meditation, some people call contemplation. But it's really not attached to any like religious thing. It is just a being aware of your thoughts. And when you're aware of your thoughts, you're like the observer of them. And when you're observing your thoughts, they lose power because they're energy that either someone has said something to you or it's something that you've believed. But when you look at that thought and just observe it, it loses power. And so that's almost like, that to me is a good way to train yourself, because you're not telling yourself that's a bad thought, don't think that, you're just watching it and
recognizing it. Be like, oh, I see you.
And it loses its power.
You can't fester. It's like a wound on the inside. It can't fester once you recognize it.
Right, because once you recognize it, we are light. We are full of light. We are full of the light of God. So like, when we're watching them, that's how we're watching them. That light is exposing. So if the thought doesn't go away, if it's something that, stays there, then, then I say, okay, well, maybe that thought is, something that I need to look at. But yeah, none of us are really victims. We've been, unfortunately, we've been victimized, and as women in particular, the false images that are put up there for us to follow. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So some of the action steps that you gave us were to like a meditation and look at the thoughts. What else?
Yeah, I would say that it's really important to see like where, what is triggering you, and when something triggers you, to, well, like for instance, for me, I'll just say for me, like if my husband triggers me, instead of fighting with him and arguing, and I remove myself and I say, okay, what just happened? Why is that, why is that hurting me? And then I deal with that before I ever deal with it. But whether, what he said was nice or not nice, it doesn't really matter. It matters that now I'm not coming from that triggered little girl who didn't get the love that, she wanted. And now is just feeling like, oh yeah, no one loves me, not even my husband, But once I deal with it, I say, okay, I'm seeing that's where it's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Then I can go back and have an adult conversation because, I've invited that little girl to be an adult with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, I think, knowing what triggers you, and then, if you can, not responding, not reacting, but responding by, maybe just taking a minute and say, oh, what's that about?
Mm-hmm. And then what about like things that we identify that we want to do in our lives? So as a life coach, how could you, can you give us just a handful of action steps on, like I have this great thought that I want to go to Norway, right? But my mobility is a problem. And I know the steps that I have to take. I got to make my legs strong, right? So I know that the steps that I have to do is I need to get my booty into that gym and start working on my legs, or as my new doctor recommended, getting some walking poles and just getting out there and building the confidence with walking, not using the walker, but using the walking poles. So as we're making a plan to bring forth something that's really a desire of our heart, do you have any suggestions on doing that separate from the inner work? I know you do because you've talked to me about it.
So steps to take when there's something that you desire.
It feels like a challenge. You feel like, gosh, am I ever going to get there? So I would say doing the baby steps, breaking down your plan, what is it going to take for me to get to Norway? Right. And then we make a plan. So can you say that to anybody?
Yeah, I operate on such a different paradigm than that. So that's why, I've never been a big planner. I'm not a big planner. I don't live my life that way. So I'm sorry. But, because I find that most things that are stopping you are not generally, I do understand the physical thing, not being able to
and that's
walk.
big in this community. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't have anything for you.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. So your life coaching is more trained towards the inner work with people.
Yeah. Mostly people that I work with are, they're trying to move past some pretty big traumas in their life. But we do that work, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know how to tell you.
Yeah, that's okay. So, how could people contact you, Kate, if they wanted to talk to you more one-on-one?
Well, they can reach me at Katie D Coach, gmail.com, and they can get in touch with me and I'll get back to them.
Okay.
I can also put my phone number up there.
No, probably not.
Okay.
I think an email is good and safe. So, yeah. So I always like to ask my guests, looking at the words loved, valued, and treasured, which one resonates with you the most this evening?
Yeah, so I really thought about that, and I actually wrote something down because let's see. Sorry.
From your heart. It's okay. Just express from your heart.
Well, for me, it's definitely treasured. And it's that, and kind of what we've been talking about, it's that I've learned that, that we have so many treasures inside of us. and that if we explore those treasures, you know, that they open a whole new world for us.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, to me, the most beautiful part of a person is their heart. And to know that, you know, that is a treasure. You know, your heart is such a treasure, and that you are treasured, not for what you do, but just for who you are, just that you're here.
Mm-hmm.
There's an old book. It's called Be Here Now. And I was thinking about that this morning, and how when you're in the moment and you're experiencing, you know, just life around you, and you realize, you know, what a treasure that is, and what a treasure just to be here and to be alive.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, we get really hung up on doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it's good just sometimes just to realize, you know, we're human beings
Mm-hmm.
doing.
Mm-hmm. There you go. Yeah. And then using the word treasured, you did share a little bit of an encouragement, but if you could just speak to our community and give them a little word of encouragement using the word treasured.
Yeah, just know that you've been treasured before you even came here to earth. There was a plan made for your life, and that plan, the blueprint for that plan is on the inside of you. And that blueprint says that you are valued and you are treasured more than anything outside of yourself, that you are the treasure. You are the treasure.
Thank you. I love that. That's beautiful. Kate, thank you. Don't go anywhere. Thank you so much. I want you to know that you are truly loved, you are truly valued, and you're truly treasured. And I love that I get to call you my friend in real life. And happy belated birthday. I know you just had a birthday, and we're still going to go out to lunch with our girlfriends. So, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you so much and let you know how much you are valued. Announcements, I didn't get a chance to check with Akancha. We were chatting about other stuff. If there's any links coming up, Akancha, if you want to bring that up, if there's any announcements, upcoming workshops or, okay, here we go. Thank you. Oh, wait, nope, it's gone. That one was in December. So I know there's always something going on. Be sure and watch on the Facebook groups for Lipedema Simplified. There's always workshops and free webinars. And okay, here's one here. We have a free webinar, and there's a link, and it'll be in the chat as well. So I'm not sure what that one is about, but they're always good. I always learn something. So be sure and click on that and see what the upcoming webinar is. I'm sorry, I'm not informed on it right now. We got chatty beforehand and didn't get to it. My next live stream is going to be on June 11th. And so I come every other week on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. EST. And my guest, and I think you know my guest, Kate, it's Haley Lugo Pichardo. She's a friend. Yeah, she's a friend of Sarah Tellis, and she's delightful. And I think that you will really love hearing from her. I think our topic is going to be about gratitude and how gratitude can really help us live our lives to the fullest. So, to my community, I just thank you. I thank you for joining us from all over. And know that you too, you are loved, you are valued, and you are treasured. And I will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.